I never expected a single summer to change the way I saw myself forever, but that's exactly what happened. I've always been the guy who blends into the background, the dependable best friend who never had to worry about love or appearances. My life was simple, predictable, safe. And then there was Ethan, my best friend since middle school, the person I trusted more than anyone in the world. We shared everything, or at least, I thought we did. But what happened that summer proved that sometimes, even the closest friendships hide secrets, not from the world, but from ourselves. It all started one Saturday morning. Ethan called me with this excited energy in his voice I hadn't heard before. He said, "Hey, come over. I have something to show you." I didn't question it, I didn't need to. Visiting him had always meant gaming, talking about dumb jokes, maybe a movie or two. But when I arrived, the energy was different. The house was quiet, eerily so, and Ethan was pacing in his room, glancing at me like he was waiting for me to notice something. "What's up?" I asked, setting my backpack down. He smiled nervously and then, with a weird sort of flourish, pulled a box from under his bed. I stared at it. What's in the box?" Ethan's smile faded, replaced with a hesitant grin. I found these at a thrift store. I think you might like them. Maybe try them on." I blinked. He was holding a small pile of clothes, feminine in every obvious way, a flowy blouse, a skirt that seemed impossibly soft, a pair of ballet flats. I laughed nervously. "You want me to wear these?" He nodded, almost imperceptibly, looking at me like he expected me to say yes. "Yeah. Just, for fun. I think you'd look great." The word great hit me strangely. My stomach twisted in a way I didn't understand. Okay, I guess," I muttered, more out of curiosity than courage. I took the clothes into his bathroom, feeling a little ridiculous. I'd never imagined myself wearing something so feminine, not even as a joke. But when I pulled on the blouse and skirt, I realized something unsettling. I looked good. Really good. The mirror reflected a version of me I'd never seen before. My sharp jaw softened under the lines of the blouse, my eyes seemed brighter somehow, more expressive. I hardly recognized myself, but I didn't want to look away. When I stepped out of the bathroom, Ethan's jaw dropped. He looked like he was seeing me for the first time. "Wow," he whispered. You look amazing." I felt heat rise to my cheeks, but not from embarrassment, something else. A thrill. A strange sense of validation I didn't know I needed. I laughed nervously. "You really think so?" Ethan's eyes were fixed on me, wide and unblinking. "I don't just think so," he said quietly. "I know it." I froze. There was something in his voice, something I hadn't heard before. His admiration wasn't just friendly, it was different, intense. Suddenly, my chest felt tight, my heart beat loud. I tried to brush it off. "It's just clothes," I said, half to convince myself. "Is it?" he asked softly. And that question lingered longer than it should have. Because it wasn't just clothes. That day, something shifted. I started wearing the clothes more often, at Ethan's suggestion. First in his room, then in private, then little pieces in public. A scarf here, a soft sweater there. The more I experimented, the more I realized that the version of me I saw in the mirror was the version I had always wanted to show the world, but never had the courage to. And Ethan was there every step of the way, supportive, encouraging, yet hesitant. There was something he wanted to say but couldn't. One afternoon, as we sat in his backyard with iced tea, he finally broke the silence. "I have to tell you something," he said, voice low. I waited, heart racing. You're different. And I like it. I like you. Not just as my best friend. I mean, as you. The way you are now." The words hit me like a shockwave. I laughed nervously, shaking my head. "Ethan, you're joking, right?" He shook his head, eyes serious. "I'm not joking. I fell for this version of you. But here's the thing, I can't tell anyone, because if I do, it'll ruin everything. I just needed you to know. I'm scared too, but I had to say it." I didn't know how to respond. My mind was spinning. I had always loved him as a friend, trusted him, depended on him, but seeing him like this, seeing him fall for me in a way I never imagined, everything changed. I felt a pull I didn't understand, a mix of excitement, fear, and guilt. Because if I acknowledged these feelings, if I embraced this side of myself fully, I could never go back to being the person he knew before. Over the following weeks, our dynamic shifted. We spent long afternoons experimenting with looks, practicing makeup, hairstyles, and accessories. Ethan became my guide, my cheerleader, my secret. We would laugh at silly mistakes, scream at minor disasters, and at night, lie awake talking about how the world would never understand this side of me. It was thrilling and terrifying, like dancing on the edge of a cliff, knowing one misstep could undo everything. But the real challenge came when I decided to step outside alone. My heart raced as I walked down the street in a simple skirt and blouse, feeling exposed yet alive. Each glance from strangers, each whisper from the wind, made me realize just how invisible I had been before. Now, I existed, and it was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. Ethan waited for me at the end of the block, eyes wide with a mixture of pride and longing. "You look incredible," he said, and I knew he meant more than just the clothes. I smiled, feeling an unfamiliar sense of power, of self-possession. For the first time, I wasn't just the background character in my life, I was the main character. But with this transformation came questions I couldn't answer. Could he ever see me as more than a friend? Could I navigate this strange new identity without losing myself or the friendship I treasured? Every moment with him was a delicate balance between revelation and fear, desire and caution. And yet, every time I looked at him, I knew that whatever happened, this summer would define us both, in ways we couldn't yet imagine. The days that followed were a whirlwind of discovery. I started spending more time exploring this new version of myself, and Ethan was always there, watching, guiding, but never pushing too hard. He had this delicate way of letting me grow into it, of letting me see that I didn't need to hide, even if the world wasn't ready to accept me. We experimented with hairstyles, different outfits, even makeup techniques. Every time I looked in the mirror, I felt simultaneously amazed and terrified. The person staring back at me felt real, yet foreign. I was still me, but somehow more. Somehow softer, more expressive, more alive. One evening, Ethan suggested something that made my stomach flip. "Why don't we go to the mall tomorrow? Just for fun. No one needs to know it's me. I just want you to see what it feels like to walk in public like this." I hesitated. The thought of being outside, in the real world, exposed like that, made my hands shake. "I don't know, what if people stare?" He smiled, that soft, knowing smile that had always made me feel seen. "Let them stare. You're beautiful. And besides, I'll be right there." The next morning, I dressed carefully, choosing a pastel blouse and a skirt that swayed around my knees. My heart hammered as we walked toward the bus stop. Each step felt like stepping into an unknown world. People glanced, whispered, sometimes smiled. And I realized something. For the first time, I didn't feel shame. I felt power. There was a freedom in simply existing, in being exactly who I wanted to be, even if only in this secret corner of my life. Ethan held my hand, a small gesture, but it sent shivers down my spine. "You're amazing," he said quietly. "I hope you know that." I didn't answer. Words would have ruined the moment. Instead, I let myself feel it, the thrill, the danger, the absolute honesty of who I was becoming. But that summer wasn't just about freedom. It was also about realization. Every glance, every smile, every touch from Ethan reminded me that he saw me in a way no one else did. And that scared me. Because if I let myself fall into this, if I let myself embrace this identity fully, I couldn't hide behind the comfortable mask of friendship anymore. I couldn't pretend this was just a game. He had fallen for me as a girl, not as the friend he had always known, and I had to ask myself, did I feel the same? The tension reached a breaking point one afternoon when we were sitting on the roof of his apartment building, legs dangling over the edge, the city sprawling beneath us. Ethan turned to me, eyes searching, vulnerable. "Do you feel anything? Like, for me?" My stomach twisted. I wanted to say yes. I wanted to scream it from the rooftops. But I was terrified of ruining the friendship, terrified of losing the person I trusted most. "I don't know," I admitted. "I like being me like this. I like that you see me. But I'm scared. Scared that if I let myself, we might lose everything." He nodded slowly, understanding, though I could see the hurt flicker in his eyes. "I know. I'm scared too. But I had to tell you. I couldn't keep it inside anymore. I needed you to know." The honesty between us shifted something fundamental. From that moment on, we existed in a strange, delicate balance. We were friends, yet more than friends, yet not quite lovers. Every interaction, every laugh, every shared secret carried weight, suspense, possibility. Then came the day that changed everything. I had been experimenting with a more complete transformation, a soft, flowing dress, styled hair, and light makeup. I looked at myself in the mirror, and for the first time, I felt a surge of recognition. This was me. Not the person I had always been, but the person I had been hiding even from myself. Ethan's voice startled me. You're stunning." I turned, and he was staring at me, completely open, completely honest. "I can't stop thinking about you. The way you are now. The way you make me feel." My heart pounded. This was the moment I had feared and hoped for, the moment where everything could either shatter or become something extraordinary. I stepped closer, our hands brushing, and I felt the electricity between us. And yet, I hesitated. The fear was still there, fear of judgment, fear of change, fear of what it meant to step fully into this new identity, fully into him. That night, I lay in bed thinking about him, about me, about what it meant to be seen, truly seen. I realized that the girl in the mirror wasn't just a reflection of clothing or makeup, it was a reflection of courage, of honesty, of the parts of me I had hidden even from myself. And Ethan had given me the permission to see it, to embrace it. But I still had a choice. I could step fully into this version of me, into the love that lingered unspoken between us, or I could retreat, safe and invisible as I had always been. The summer was half over, and yet, I felt like I had lived a lifetime in these few weeks. I had discovered parts of myself I never knew existed, and the person I had trusted most had shown me that love could be patient, quiet, and profoundly transformative. The question now was whether I had the courage to take the next step. Because love, I realized, wasn't just about feelings. It was about bravery, about risking everything to be authentic, about daring to see yourself through someone else's eyes and knowing that what you see is worth everything. The days after that rooftop conversation were different. There was a quiet tension between us, unspoken but unmistakable. We laughed, joked, and hung out as usual, but beneath the surface, a current of something deeper flowed, something neither of us could fully name yet. I could feel his eyes lingering on me in ways they hadn't before, and I caught myself noticing him more, the curve of his smile, the way his hands moved when he talked, the subtle vulnerability he carried beneath his usual confidence. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. I had never imagined that the version of me I had been exploring in secret could affect our friendship so profoundly. And yet, it did. Every shared glance, every accidental touch, every moment spent together in silence carried weight. The world outside didn't know what we were discovering about ourselves, and in a way, that secrecy made it feel even more dangerous, more intoxicating. One afternoon, Ethan suggested something bold. "Let's go to the park," he said casually, though there was a spark in his eyes that made me nervous. "I want you to feel comfortable being you out in the world. Just us. No masks, no hiding." I hesitated. Public outings were a different level of exposure. What if someone recognized me? What if they judged me? But the longing to see myself fully, to embrace this identity I had been nurturing, was stronger than my fear. I nodded. "Okay. Let's go." Walking through the park, I felt eyes on me. Children pointed, couples whispered, and for a moment, panic rose in my chest. But then I felt his hand slide into mine. Just that simple touch anchored me, reminded me that I wasn't alone. He smiled at me, warm and reassuring, and I realized that I wasn't afraid anymore. Not really. Not when he was by my side. We found a quiet bench beneath a tree, and for the first time, we just sat a day. No games, no jokes, no distractions. Just the two of us, existing in this shared secret. Ethan looked at me, eyes soft, searching. "I keep thinking about how brave you are," he said. "Not just with how you look, but with everything you're discovering about yourself. I've never seen anyone embrace themselves like this. It's beautiful." I swallowed hard, feeling a lump in my throat. His words touched me in ways I couldn't describe. I wanted to tell him how I felt, to admit that I was falling into this new version of myself, and into him, in ways I hadn't expected. But fear held me back. Fear of losing what we had, fear of breaking the fragile balance we had found. Then came the first real challenge. A group of kids from our school walked by, laughing and pointing at me. "Whoa, is that?" I didn't hear the rest. My face burned, my heart raced. I wanted to disappear. The panic I had feared for so long surged through me, threatening to undo everything I had built. Ethan's grip tightened on my hand. "Ignore them," he said firmly. "They don't matter. None of this matters except us." I nodded, drawing strength from his presence. For the first time, I realized that courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was acting despite it. I straightened my back, lifted my chin, and walked past them without flinching. Ethan's pride in me was palpable, and I felt a swell of something new: confidence, acceptance, even joy. That night, we sat on his bed, exhausted but exhilarated. I laughed softly, thinking about the day, about how terrified I had been, and how alive I felt now. Ethan watched me, expression unreadable for a moment, then finally said, "I have to ask, are you happy being her?" "Being you?" I thought about it. The girl in the mirror, the one who had scared me, thrilled me, challenged me, yes. I was happy. Happier than I had ever been. "I am," I admitted. "I've never felt more me." He smiled, but there was a shadow in his eyes. "And what about us? Do you think we can be more? Or are we stuck in this friendship in between?" I didn't have an answer. The truth was, I didn't know. Every part of me wanted to leap, to embrace this love that had blossomed in secret, but every part of me also feared the consequences. What if the world didn't understand? What if he regretted it? What if I lost him entirely? Days turned into weeks, and our secret world continued to grow. I experimented with my appearance more boldly, testing the boundaries of who I could be. Ethan was there every step of the way, his admiration unwavering, his love unspoken but evident in every touch, every glance, every supportive word. And yet, the tension remained. We were teetering on the edge of something irreversible, and neither of us knew who would make the first move, who would risk it all. Then, one evening, everything changed. I was standing in front of the mirror, practicing a new hairstyle Ethan had suggested, when he came into the room unexpectedly. He stopped, eyes wide, and for a long moment, there was silence. And then, softly, almost a whisper, he said, "You're the most incredible person I've ever known." My heart leapt. "Ethan," I started, but he cut me off. "I can't hide it anymore," he said, stepping closer. "I love you. I've loved you since you became her. And I can't keep pretending I don't." The words hit me like a tidal wave. I felt a mix of joy, fear, and disbelief. My mind raced, but my heart knew the truth. I had been falling for him too, slowly, unknowingly, in the spaces between laughter, shared secrets, and quiet moments. I took a deep breath, looking into his eyes. "I love you too," I admitted. The relief, the thrill, the vulnerability, it was overwhelming. For the first time, we were no longer just best friends, no longer just experimenting with identity. We were two people who had discovered each other in the most extraordinary way, and there was no going back. That night, we sat together, hands entwined, hearts open, and for the first time, I felt entirely seen. Not just as a friend, not just as a person in a disguise, but as my true self, and loved for it. The world outside could wait. In that moment, nothing mattered except the bond we had forged, fragile yet unbreakable, daring and tender. The days that followed felt like waking up into a world I had always imagined but never known existed. Ethan and I had crossed the line from friendship into something more profound, something delicate and extraordinary. Every glance, every laugh, every touch carried new meaning. It was exhilarating, terrifying, and entirely real. I was no longer just the boy who blended into the background. I was her, I was me, and I was loved. We continued to explore who I was, fully embracing my transformation. The girl I had been discovering in secret was no longer just a private experiment. I learned to walk with confidence, to express myself through clothing, hairstyles, even gestures I had once dismissed as frivolous. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw not just the reflection of the girl I had become, but the courage it had taken to become her. I had stepped out of hiding, and the world, for the first time, felt vast and open. Ethan never wavered. He cheered for me, encouraged me, and made me feel safe in ways I hadn't known were possible. But the challenges were real. Not everyone understood, not everyone accepted, and there were moments of fear and doubt. I remember one evening walking down the street, wearing a flowing dress and styled hair, when a group of teens whispered and laughed. My heart leapt into my throat, and for a moment, panic gripped me. But then I felt Ethan's hand squeeze mine, his presence grounding me. "They don't matter," he said softly. "You matter. And you're incredible." In that moment, I realized something vital. Courage wasn't about being fearless, it was about moving forward even when fear threatened to hold you back. And with him by my side, I could face anything. Our love, unspoken for so long, became our guiding light. We shared quiet nights together, talking about everything and nothing, laughing at past mistakes, and imagining futures that once seemed impossible. I began to understand that identity was more than appearance, it was expression, honesty, and the bravery to live as your true self. Ethan saw me for who I truly was, and in doing so, he gave me permission to embrace myself fully. The transformation wasn't just external. I felt it deep inside, my confidence, my self-awareness, my willingness to step into vulnerability. I could sense the difference in how I carried myself, how I spoke, how I moved through the world. The girl I had become was real, authentic, and hers wasn't a disguise, it was a truth I had long denied. And Ethan's love reinforced that truth, wrapping it in warmth, acceptance, and safety. There were moments of doubt, of course. The world outside our little bubble wasn't always kind. Some friends were confused, some distant, and occasionally I questioned whether I was ready to face their judgment. But Ethan always reminded me, the world can wait. What matters is that you are living your truth. And I am here. Always. And so, I continued stepping forward, slowly at first, then with growing certainty. I attended small gatherings, met new people, and allowed myself to be seen as I truly was. The sensation was liberating and terrifying all at once. But each time I felt fear creeping in, I thought of Ethan, of his unwavering support, of his eyes full of pride and love, and I moved through it. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, we sat on the porch of his apartment building, legs dangling over the edge, the city stretching endlessly before us. The air was warm, filled with the soft hum of distant traffic and life. Ethan turned to me, eyes gentle, searching. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" he asked. I smiled, taking his hand. "Every day. I never imagined this. Not just who I am, but us. Everything feels so real." He nodded, squeezing my hand. "It is real. And I love it. I love you. All of you." My chest tightened with emotion. The girl in the mirror, the person I had once been too afraid to acknowledge, was fully alive. I realized that love and identity weren't things to hide or fear, they were to be embraced, celebrated, and shared with those who truly saw you. And in Ethan, I had found someone who didn't just see me, he saw her, and he loved her fiercely. From that moment, I understood that life wasn't about fitting into expectations or hiding parts of yourself. It was about courage, authenticity, and the bravery to take the leap, even when the outcome was uncertain. That summer had given me all of that and more. It had shown me the beauty of transformation, the depth of love, and the power of being truly seen. We sat there, holding hands, hearts full, watching the city lights flicker on one by one. I felt a sense of peace, of completion, of daring hope. I had become someone I had never imagined, and yet, I had never felt more like myself. And with Ethan by my side, I knew that whatever the world threw at us, we would face it together. The girl I had become was no longer a secret, and our love, once unspoken, had blossomed into something real, profound, and unbreakable. That summer, that transformation, that leap of courage had changed everything. And for the first time in my life, I was not just living, I was thriving. Because sometimes, the person you are meant to be is waiting just beneath the surface, and it takes love, courage, and a little bit of risk to reveal them to the world. And when you do, when you finally allow yourself to be fully seen, you realize that the life waiting for you is far brighter than you ever imagined.